Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'm excited to be sharing some theme decks that I made for the sets Black Bolt and White Flare. So we've got two decks to take a look at here today. So in case you joined during the Scarlet and Violet era and TCG Live and you never played on Pokemon TCGO, basically there used to be these things called theme decks, and they had their own format as well, which is kind of crazy. Like you used to be able to play just theme decks versus other theme decks on TCGO. And basically, all that they were single prize decks consisting of 20 Pokemon, 20 trainers, and 20 energy. So on TCGO, you could spend the currency, which there just used to be one currency, I think, on TCGO, like Pokecoins. So you could purchase a theme deck, and then you couldn't change it or anything. Like, you couldn't change out any of the cards. You basically just had to play it as it was, but there was quite a few of them. There was about 2 released every new set. But sadly, they were discontinued in I think it was towards the end of the Sword and Shield era, they were discontinued, and then they were like sort of replaced by newer decks that have like EX Pokemon and things in. But yeah, there used to be a very fun limited format. Like, of course, the decks had their own problems, but I think overall it was a solid way of getting players into the game. And the TCGO format for like the theme decks also had a really big following of people online who really like to play it casually. And to be honest, it definitely saved my interest in the game when standard format was feeling a bit rough. So yeah, bit of a shame that we don't have theme decks anymore. So I thought it'd be quite fun to take a look at a new one. So I decided, of course, to base it around one of the single price starters from the set, Samurott. So Samurott has a very fun ability, Torrential Whirlpool, as well as the somewhat okay attack, Energized Slash. Now, this theme deck, in true theme deck fashion, doesn't have any ways to accelerate energy. The Ember one does, however, so that's kind of helpful, but this one doesn't. So typically you would see a split of 3 basics, 2 of the stage 1, and then 2 copies of the stage 2, which is what I've gone for here. I've also gone for 2 types. In tradition of most theme decks, they often had 2 types of them. So I've gone for grass and water. The other types being Virizion with Giga Drain and Emerald Blade. And then for Pokemon, I've also got this Accelgor in here, which is a little bit bland, but might be able to help you discard some energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon, which I thought was quite nice. I've also got room for one more colorless Pokemon. I kind of ran out of deck space for this one really quickly. I was surprised at how easy it was to fill out the 20 Pokemon, really. But as you can see here, I didn't actually stick to just White Flower for this. I pulled from both Black Bolt and White Flower to make both of these theme decks, just because I feel like these sets in particular are very, like, not symbiotic of each other, but like they're just very, very similar, and they're basically come as a pair anyway. So I felt it was okay to dabble between both of them to, build the sets for. So yeah, Tornadus is quite fun. And then the other like main Pokemon, I guess, in this deck, a 2/2 line, is going to be Beartic. So there's a lot of rares in the theme deck, which is another point to bring up. Like, you probably wouldn't see this many like holo rares or anything, but I did think it was quite interesting to at least include some Pokemon that had some more fun stats. So this one has a coin flip attack with continuous headbutt, and then Sheer Cold is quite expensive, but during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't use attacks, which is very, very powerful. But of course, it requires a whopping 4 energy, so it's a bit expensive. As for then the trainers, I've got 22 in this deck. I tried to make it so it was 22 trainers and not just 20 trainers, because that always feels a bit bad. I did decide to make like a very conscious decision and try and like improve the trainers across the board compared to most theme decks, like how they used to be. So, we've got things like Hilda in here, we've got things like Arven, Nest Balls, Vessels, cards that do actually see play in standard. I have got some, like, I guess, moderately bad cards in here as well, like Pokemon Catcher. Sacred Ash isn't very usable. Harlequin doesn't see any play in standard. But, like, theme decks did often include these, like, lower powered cards. And you really can't afford to have trainers in theme decks that would, like, warp the format or anything, because it's just, like, no proper draw engines half the time. So, with no proper way of drawing cards, no proper way of accelerating energy usually, it just makes sense to play some of the more weaker trainers. But it's cool because if you were to buy 2 copies of a theme deck, or maybe, you buy 1 copy and then you can trade off some cards to your friends or something to improve it, or, get more of the same trainers. So I thought that was a fun way of, as a nod to previous theme decks. Also, for the energy split, went with 11 water and 7 grass. It is worth mentioning, I think, that this deck could be modified to include maybe some sort of energy acceleration of some description. Like, there was that new, I think it was an energy coin, was it? From White Flare that basically, yeah, white energy coin from Black Bolt, that is, okay. Flip 2 coins, if both of them are ahead, search your deck for a basic energy attached to one of your Pokemon. It's a very inconsistent card, and maybe it's just a bit too flippy for, this style of deck and theme deck in general, but I thought it was quite fun. Coin flips are very fun for new players. Like, I kind of miss playing with coin flips, to be honest. Things like Team Rocket's Venture Bomb would be a similar situation. But yeah, quite a fun deck overall, I would say. And then for the next theme deck, because of course we've got two of these to take a look at here, we have Thunder Pals, which is going to be the Emboar theme deck. I honestly prefer this one. I think it's a bit stronger than the other one, but yeah, overall, of course, it's based around the other starter, Emboar, accelerating some energy, which is always fun. So again, a 3/2/2 line. Also got some lightning type Pokemon though. Got a 2/1 Zeb Striker in here with the attack Electro Bullet, which is quite powerful. And I've also got Thunderous. It is worth mentioning that Zeb Striker doesn't really have a lot of synergy with Emboar, so maybe that could have been improved upon in my part. Like, I could have found another Pokemon that had better synergy. But yeah, I've also got some other fire types though. We've got Heatmor, which can be good for setting up Pokemon, but of course you only get one copy because it is a theme deck. Then I've also got a 2/2 line of Simsear, which is pretty bulk, bland, boring kind of card, but very easy for new players to learn the game with. And also got a Volcarona in here, which is definitely one of the better cards in the deck, which is why it's a 2/1 line, so you only get one copy of it. But yeah, that's another thing though. Like, if you wanted to, you could like try and trade off friends and like get more copies, like in theory, of like certain Pokemon and improve it a bit, because it's all like theory based, and you'd obviously want to include like more Tornadus, for example, or maybe even more Thunderous, and because it's a good attacker, and more copies of Heatmor, that sort of thing. As for trainers, it's basically the same, although I have made room for things like Energy Recycler, just to like let you chain attacks more, and things like Energy Retrieval, just because of course Emboar needs to be charging up that energy. And as such, the energy split is accordingly like 12 fire, slightly higher on the fire energy count, just because of course it's mainly a fire type deck, but is still running some lightning type support. So yeah, quite fun overall, I would say. If you would like to see more theme decks, by the way, I do have a rough idea on what I would do for Destined Rivals and Journey Together as well, and then one for Mega Evolution potentially. So yeah, do let me know if you'd like to see more of these. If these would be fun. I will leave the deck lists in the description in case you want to copy these out and try them with friends or something. But yeah, if anyone wants to battle me with these decks, then feel free to. Like, let me know. But yeah, it's been Emma Power. Let me know what you think down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.